and now we officially start this bonfire meeting. So let us go around and present ourselves, and if people join, we can let them do that later. Nina.
Hi, I'm Nina Dakua, and professionally I'm a data architect, and I joined this organization about almost 2 years or 1.5 years ago, and I find it fascinating because this problem of solving information overload is going to take us a lot as everybody have to be involved in that. So I'm interested to see how we can do.
Okay.
I think that's it.
Okay. So Bruce, why don't you tell us who you are?
Hi, sure. Good morning. My name is Bruce Foreman. I am in Massachusetts, Worcester, actually. I am Chief Information Security Officer at EMS Memorial Health, and I am also recently a graduate as a doctor in an EDD program at University of Penn, where I studied email overload.
Really? Wow. Cool. You'll tell us in a minute what you studied there. Okay, Francesco, you want to go?
Yeah. Hi. First, sorry for my English. I'm Italian. My name is Francesco Russo, and I am a marketing consultant. And 10 years ago, 12 years ago, my health have a very problem. I have a breakdown. I have a breakdown. And I started to study the problem of information overload, the multitasking, burnout. And now I help the people, I help a company to resolve the problem of information overload.
Marty.
Hello, everyone. I'm a retired faculty member at Illinois Institute of Technology in Chicago. We moved to Los Angeles about 14 months ago, where we reside now, and I taught courses in machine learning, statistics. My prior lives represented information technology, accounting, and auditing. I've been with IORG for a number of years. One of the things that I'm curious about with Chat GPT is we might end up having bots creating messages galore, and that will just even exacerbate the information overload situation, which already is overly demanding.
Thank you. Then we have Claudia Erickson joining us. You're muted and invisible. Hi there.
Hi.
Hi, Claudia.
Welcome.
Hi, Claudia.
We're just going around introducing ourselves, so why don't you have a go?
Okay. I'm Claudia Erickson, and I'm with the Unplugged Collaborative. Just kind of found out about this group not too long ago. After a nice meeting with Nathan, and thought I'd come check it out. Unfortunately, I know I will get pulled away early and one other quick time for this, but I at least wanted to try and join for your bonfire. It's 8 a.m. for me in San Diego. Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, good to see you. So I guess I need to present myself. I will do that before Sarah then. I'm the basically founder of this organization with some others. I spent most of my life in high tech working at Intel. And these days I am a consultant, and I'm consulting, among other things, about information overload, living in Jerusalem, Israel. So you know what? I'm interested in what you said, Bruce, about studying information overload. So let us know what that program was. That's interesting.
Well, the program itself was broader, but my dissertation study was around specifically email overload, and so I've been engaged in that for the last year and a half, and defended just 2 weeks ago. Happy to share some of the findings with you all, if that's of interest now or another time.
Actually, it's very interesting. We had one member years ago, and she did a dissertation, I think even a PhD dissertation on overload in the hospital setting. But I haven't seen anyone do one since then. Sure, you want to tell us what you did and found there?
Sure. Yeah. So let me. May I share or try to share a screen?
Let me see if can you do that. If not, I'll have to allow it. Yes,
Right now,
If you make
not
Bruce
allowed.
a co-host,
I will have to make him a co-host, and I will. Make co-host. There, you've been honored.
All right. Let me see if I can bring something up of use. Here we go. I will not bore you with all 17 slides here, but I had 15 minutes to present on about like I said, about 18 months of study. This probably is not it's not a surprise to any of you who've been in this area for quite some time, and overload's become endemic. And one of the key learnings is that email usage is highly affected by the corporate culture, and that's something that I want to dig into a bit more. And I'd love to get feedback from many of you on what you see in terms of takeaways and how to present this to leadership within an organization, because I did find most individuals believe that that the need to respond quickly or immediately is self-imposed, but organizations tend to also drive that behavior by spinning quick response as respectful, which is desirable, but has a lot of really unintended consequences. These are the two kind of mom and apple pie research questions that I looked to study. What are leaders' experiences with email overload, and then what strategies do they use? I found this quote, which I thought was great, from one of the inventors of email long ago, and he at least to the time of the writing in the early 90s, didn't use his creation. He didn't use the email. He felt that was it did more harm than good. So there were three primary findings around the email overload. Not surprising, volume's high, it's increasing. The pandemic seems to have driven even more. Many of the individuals I interviewed felt that some of the office flybys that we used to get relative to, hey, can you help me with this, now become email. So the overload is exacerbated by that. Surprisingly to me, and I surveyed 755, of which I had 155 responses. There were no differences, no statistically significant differences across demographic categories. In other words, the way that people experience email overload is consistent, regardless of your gender, of your level of education, your position within the organization, et cetera. And leaders feel pressure to respond, and although they set boundaries, such as I won't check email, or I don't check email at night or on the weekends, or when I'm out to dinner with my family, most of them then immediately consented that, but I don't follow those boundaries very well. So the anxiety that's caused by overload is actually increased, likely by the setting and then forgetting of the boundaries.
I have a question on that. Is that only leaders that behave that way?
So
non-leaders not
I don't know.
You didn't study.
So my study was specifically with leaders.
Okay.
I focused on leaders, and the reason I focused on leaders is because I believe that leaders are in the best position to potentially make broader changes that can impact the rest of the population, and therefore they were more important to study than the broader category. But it's a good question, and I don't know my expectation is that the finding would follow along with the broader population, but I don't have data to support that.
Yep.
Okay. And then relative to leadership email strategies, this was kind of not surprising to me, but also not great news. Leaders generally don't have effective strategies. The majority of the strategies are related to how do I minimize email in my inbox. So it's the idea of inbox zero, and so they've developed strategies around that, and those strategies are not working. They provide limited guidance to their teams. That's individual teams as well as organizationally. And then this idea of email is always open. So related to strategies, and these were some of the strategies that were talked about consistently. How do I minimize the number? How do I set rules to remove emails that I don't want to see, which of course still leaves large numbers of email in the inboxes. Most people had at least 200 messages per day that they review. That's after getting rid of junk and spam. And they estimated about 25 each day that they had to respond to. They try to respond immediately if possible, which of course pulls them away from any other work that they may be doing, and that was regardless of whether the message was considered by them to be a priority. They would try to respond quickly anyway. Limited guidance, as I noted, culture drives response within 24 hours if possible, and there are unintended consequences of that. This was interesting. The studies, all of the studies that I read looked at comparison of email notification, which comes with the disruption and the ideas, and pulls in all the studies around multitasking and what the negative impacts of those disruptions are, versus email batching, looking at email periodically, 2-3 times a day, finding in general that email batching reduces anxiety, increases productivity in most people. However, certain personalities high on the neuroticism scale batching tends to generate even greater anxiety because of the need to focus for longer periods of time. In my study, I found that people had developed a somewhat new or third method, which is this idea of always open. And in that, individuals have a screen up with email all the time, except when they're not at work, at which time they are checking on their phones just in case they miss something. But during the day, email is always open and they're always checking. This adds a whole new meaning to the idea of killer app, because it takes away from any other work efforts that the individual may be trying to do. And so with all that good news, or actually bad news, these are some ideas to consider. I noted already about the unintended consequences and the need to look at corporate culture, and looking at training on not only how to use email, but also what the expectations are for response. Developing those similar norms within individual teams. Thinking about different alternatives to email for when a quick response is needed, whether that be a call or text or office hours, but setting up some methods so that leaders don't feel they need to always be on. And for individuals, looking at boundaries, but respecting those boundaries. And again, coming up with how do people reach out to me if they really need me, so I don't feel I need to be sitting checking my phone every moment of every day. Interestingly, the individuals understand or understood what the priority messages were or are. They're generally based on who it's from, a team member or somebody in their leadership chain, or based on keyword. In the hospital environment, clinicians noted that the things like patient safety and patient movement as keywords were the higher priority items. So focusing only on those and to the exclusion of others could provide some relief. And I started looking at what's next. And of course, I wonder if there are other demographics that I didn't look at that may exhibit some differences, because as I noted, every demographic that I looked at and surveyed experiences overload in the same way and at a very high level. There was one difference, and that was in the study, one statistical difference, and that was based on the number of direct reports. Those that had few direct reports, 0 to 10, experienced somewhat less overload than those that had more direct reports, 21 to 100. Again, the culture aspect I think is critical. And then looking deeper at this always open email, what the impacts of that are to individuals.
Right.
So I would love to hear impressions, suggestions. I am interested in digging deeper into whether these findings are extendable or extensible across different industries beyond healthcare. And I'm also struggling a bit to try to determine what's the story to tell to an organizational leader as with regard to what are the things that you need to focus on? What is the problem that we're experiencing, and what should you be doing about it?
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Very interesting. I will give you one impression. I don't know if I should say I'm gratified, but I see you're seeing the same problems that I saw when I started working on this, like, I don't know, 20 years ago. And it's still there, 100 messages a day, and always on. It's like I'm always, you could say, afraid that things have changed considerably, and what I think is happening out there is dated, because I'm doing less organizational consulting on email overload lately. But it seems that the problems are simply still there. If we had a job there, it would be job security forever, which is interesting to have new data on it, I would say. Comments, folks? I will say one other thing. Of course, the leader at the top of the organization must get involved, because that's the only person that can really make a change. Because my theme has always been that it's a prisoner's dilemma, that everybody sends more emails because they want to get noticed and so on. And the only way to change the payoff table of the prisoner's dilemma is by the man at the very top who's not competing with anyone else. So that's where the change has to come from, I think.
In my opinion, this a problem is across the board, not only leadership, it's just the middle tier, even the working group, So maybe especially the service-oriented organization or that sector has more email dependency than, manufacturing or kind of a product-oriented, organization, because they are busy all the time, not really always checking it. But they have a different way of monitoring their work. So my question is that when you looked into this survey, is it you conduct a survey among the leadership teams, but did you see what kind of email? Like, is it mostly like administrative type of work versus, technical professional role kind of thing? Like a patient management there, you have a patient aspect of that, right? There are cases of the patient coming through, okay? So did you see the email oriented or geared to that area versus within healthcare, offices, there are regular administrative work? So what type of...
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to answer your question directly first, and then comment for Nathan. So these were leaders. So they were not the direct clinicians or caregivers. But to your point, and you noted, service industries versus, for example, manufacturing. I think you're right, and you're onto something. One of the things that was a little bit surprising, I suppose, is that leaders, so this is the administrative side, right? It's the leaders are they believe that email is so critical that they can't live without it. They can't be off it at any time. They might miss something. They might disappoint somebody. They might miss a really important message and not respond. But the clinicians, the ones that are actually on the floor that are providing care, if they're checking email once a week, that's a lot. The leaders struggle with how to communicate with the individual clinicians, and they're using a lot of old school tactics, face-to-face, bulletin boards. Some of the clinicians will check their personal email more frequently. Text messaging is another that works for some a bit as well, but they're not checking their email. So it's a very interesting dichotomy, and I suspect in a manufacturing environment it would look very similar, where the leaders and managers are using email a lot, and the people that are doing the work likely are not. And I wanted to share this. This is A World Without Email. It's by Cal Newport. It's become one of my favorites, and just the prisoner's dilemma. He coins that the hyperactive hive mind. It's really meaning the same thing. And as people respond quickly to get the email message out of their inbox, it gets worse and worse for everybody else.
Yes. Right, folks, at this point, Claudia, did you say that you'll have to leave early? Because I would like to give you an opportunity to explain about the Unplug Collaborative, which I heard and others haven't.
I don't have to leave that quickly, and I don't know how long the meeting is going.
An hour, but plus.
Oh, okay. No, I'm okay. I mean, I can certainly explain now. I have until probably 10 till 9.
Okay. So tell us.
Okay, thanks. Well, I appreciate the work that you're all doing, and I certainly feel this whole information overload quite a bit myself at times, and I see it in my interactions with other people and I see it in my own family too. The husband who's got a law firm and feels he has to always be on, and his office is always open, I swear. So I appreciate some of those ideas. So what I do, I'm with the nonprofit Unplug Collaborative, and we coordinate the Global Day of Unplugging, which is previously known as National Day of Unplugging, but we had more global partners, so we changed the name to more reflect accurately, who's getting involved. It's like Earth Day, but take a break from your technology. It's always the first weekend in March. So next year it will be, I don't know, but it's always from sundown Friday night to sundown Saturday night. It began as a program of a group here called Reboot. I believe it started in the Bay Area. This was part of a Jewish tradition of honoring Shabbat from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday. Spend time with your family, just reflecting on, other ways of connecting in the world. So it began as some device-free dinners in the Bay Area, and then just grew and grew and grew and got bigger and bigger until it became this bigger project, and they were looking for a new home. And that was probably, I think we're going on our 15th year this year. And we, Kim Cavallo and I, she's in Los Angeles. She's the one who asked me if I would join her in this great endeavor to start a nonprofit to take over Global Day of Unplugging. And we had kind of a phenomenon of, I should say, we just had a phenomenal result of people being really excited to get involved when the pandemic happened. We weren't sure how that was going to go, but it kind of proved our point that if you lock a bunch of people in the fudge shop, eventually they want to get something healthy to eat. So we had unlimited amounts of technology during the pandemic. And so greater awareness about issues like info overload and, social media and mental health issues with teens and all of that kind of helped bring this cause more into the light for average people to see that, oh yeah, maybe I need to look at, the time I'm spending here with technology.
Mm-hmm.
So we offer a whole host of different ideas of things that people can do on Global Day of Unplugging or leading up to Global Day of Unplugging. And essentially what makes our program a little different, I guess, is that we are coordinating with leaders and individuals that want to be leaders in their community to put on events. There are still people doing virtual events, but we really also like to encourage people to do in-person events. And we have lots of fun ideas because we kind of figured that if we make it fun and people have an enjoyable experience unplugging, they're more likely to want to do more of it. So we kind of try and focus on the positive of what can you do without your phone and have it be great. And then maybe you'll want to do more of it rather than kind of coming more from the education side of things. I personally do like to go give talks about digital wellness. My background's public health. I have a master's in public health for health promotion. And so I do that as well. And but other than that, we coordinate the day. We give out these are our smartphone knapsacks.
Oh.
And people, that want to coordinate an event can get a whole bunch of these and then use them for their activities, and people can put a phone in it, or there are things in there that they can use to entertain their kids. Like this has Wiki Sticks, which is a fun little toy. You can put little cards in here, all kinds of things. We have downloads people can print out so they can have these at a restaurant if they want to use the activities inside of that instead of just handing the phone over to their child to entertain them. So we have scavenger hunts and comedy night ideas, and unplug for a cause, where you can unplug, and we've gamified rewarding time spent off of technology in that sense. So you can have a whole group come together and everyone's unplugging for an hour or whatever, and then collectively you have 50 people that have done that. You count up how many hours, and if a goal is met, then a donation can be made to a cause. We've had socks given to homeless shelters through Unplug for a Cause. So lots and lots of different things on our website, which is unplug, UNPLUG collaborative .org, and you can check it out. We've had all kinds of fun people doing creative events. I love seeing what people come up with and seeing what will happen next year.
Very well. Actually, you have a really wide range of things. I love that, actually.
We do. We have everything. We have over 200 different ideas. We've kind of just purged. And if other people have great ideas, let us know. We'd love to add to it. So, yeah.
Cool. And I know how you found us because we've talked. But Bruce, I'm curious, how did you bump into our activity?
You know, I'm trying to remember that. Someone introduced me.
Ileana, isn't it?
And I think it was.
I think it was Ileana.
Yes, it was Ileana. That's exactly it.
Yep.
She's been wonderful. Yeah.
We know her.
Yeah.
So Bruce, how did you find us?
Yeah, Claudia, I wonder if you could put the link to that website in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
Good idea, yeah. Please do.
As I was doing my research, I actually ran into the IORG site, and I found a podcast that you had done years ago. I think there were a total of 2. And I listened to them on a nice day, and then I actually downloaded or bought the book that you had written some time ago about email and how to use email. So that was about a year ago.
Okay. Well, I'm glad you found us, definitely. Your question, what do you tell leaders? You can tell them what I used to tell them, which is I once made a calculation with some colleagues at Intel that people are losing 8 hours a week just on reading unnecessary emails and the switching time back and forth of the brain for the interruptions. And it's probably a conservative estimate, but anyway, that's 1 day a week. So I then would say to the leaders, I would say, look, suppose you had a coal mine in the 19th century and you travel to see your coal miners and you see they're all sitting playing backgammon or whatever. So you say, what's going on? Well, the foreman says, we have this custom that 1 day a week, we don't work at full pay. That's the equivalent of being a CEO of a company where people are under email overload and paying them a salary to waste 8 hours a week doing nothing. And I say to him, if you were in the 19th century, you would probably take some action about this. That's the way I see it. Because it's terrible, because it's not like the organization wins. I mean, if the employees were suffering and their families were suffering, as they certainly do, and the capitalist plutocrats running the organization were to gain, then we can understand it. It's a zero-sum game. But the organization loses because people are not working. So nobody gains. That's what the leaders have to realize and start doing something about.
I have a question for Claudia. Hey, it sounds great what you're doing. I'm just curious to know if you have any sort of number, in the sense, like how many are following this unplugged day, how many are sort of religiously doing year after year after year, as well as how many tried but kind of retracted, like, oh no, I cannot really live with that without. I'm sure some people will say, oh, it is getting, my today not checking an email or something is going to amount to 200 more tomorrow. So it's not for me. So there are some people might be dropping the idea. So if you know some sort of, rate.
Okay, so what a great question. And I don't have that information. I will say that one of the biggest problems that we have, or challenges, is we could use people to help us parse through our numbers. So that it's challenging. And we are a very small team. Primarily, there are two of us that do this. So we kind of hang on for dear life each year when it gears up, and do everything that we can. But the data, like we do a survey at the end. So we have information from the current survey. We might have 60 people that completed it. I'm not sure. And on that, we do have some people that respond that they couldn't do it this year, and they make comments about it. But we don't have the system in place to follow up and see why did someone not continue it. I would love to know that information. We just know, ironically, through social media more than anything, how many, people make a post, do a hashtag, that kind of thing. We can kind of see that information, but even that, I was starting to catalog that and look at it this last week. And I went and I saw there were like 14,000 hashtags. Oh my God, I don't even know. We need students to work on some of this, because we definitely have a lot of good info we could pull together, but where to begin? So we're strangely just working on putting the day out there, and hoping that as many people as possible will do it. And we are not getting to really capture the data like I'd like. I know we have some overall numbers I could look up from last year, but I don't know what it is. But I'll put that I'm gonna look it up in a second here, and I'll put that in here, what it is, our numbers before this past one, because we're still kind of working on that. I only wish we had really good solid data. It bothers me because I'd like to do that more, but time permitting.
Well, my background is data. That's why I'm just kind of, I'm a data geek. So we can offline if you need any help or anything.
Oh, thank you so much. I do appreciate that. Yeah.
And I'm pretty much sure with IORG, if we can combine our forces,
Yeah.
I would like to see the trend, like year after year, if it's changing or stagnant or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Good to know, because we have a 15 years experience there. Yeah.
Yeah, and of course the challenge is that, so this had been run by Reboot, the Jewish organization, for the first 12 years. And so they did it a certain way, and we don't know much about how that was done. I just know that it spiraled and got so big that they were just trying to barely stay on top of it. And then they gave us a big dump of like 15,000 emails. We knew nothing, no gender, name, location, zip. Here are the emails. So we were then charged with trying to take that and see who's really still engaged versus who signed up 10 years ago and doesn't even, have any interest anymore, and try and monetize it and make it sustainable so that we could keep going with this. So we created a membership program. That's how we have people that can buy a membership and get, a bunch of these bags and hand them out kind of thing.
Mhm.
So that made for a huge drop off because they were previously giving these bags away every year for free. And of course, shipping got to be a ridiculous thing. And so there's a shift in how it was coordinated and done. And we don't even know a lot about how it was done before. And then from when we started and just basically spent the first year getting our nonprofit in order and then getting a membership program. And then, yeah, things had shifted from people would just sign up because they're just interested to learn more. Is that really somebody who's a member and super interested and participated? Or is it just somebody who was curious for the day? We decided we didn't want to deal with the counting that or overinflating that information, which is what I think had been done before. So now we feel more that the people that are signing up are more actively engaged, but the measures are all over the place because of the changes that have happened as we're trying to figure out the best way to make this thing work. We're still really in the new stages of all of that, but I would like to get it down to where it's meaningful engagement with the people that we have. We're not worrying as much about, we want to have everybody in the whole world doing it, and the numbers are, as long as somebody even mentions it, we want it to be a little more real, a little more genuine. These are people who are really the leaders wanting to coordinate events and things like that. So
Interesting.
but I'll look for that number and send that to you.
Thank you.
Sure.
Do you have Nina's email?
Or you can
And I'm
send it to the
putting
group because everybody will be interested in knowing this thing also. Oh, you need my email there?
putting mine in here.
Or you can send it to Nathan as well.
You have my email, Claudia, I suppose, right?
I do.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you can send it to me and I'll send it to the team.
Okay.
Members that aren't here today.
Perfect. And I'm supposed to also say, and I can't believe I didn't, if anyone wants to bring Global Day of Unplugging to their country or wherever they're at, we are still looking for representatives who want to take the charge, take the lead. And it doesn't mean that you have to agree you're going to try and get, everyone in your country on board. We have people that did digital wellness talks last year. We found quite a few people that were, tech-oriented people this year that got involved, like Ileana, that really used Global Day of Unplugging as a nice springboard for their activities that they're doing anyway. And then we just ask that you try to encourage other people to do it throughout the country, and that can grow. And they contact you as the point person for media inquiries and event details and things of that nature. So if someone's interested in that, reach out to me. That would be great.
Great. And please, next year, before, like a month before the day, ping us. This year we missed it. We met you like days before the event was too late. We will certainly help publicize the event on our channels and see what else we can do.
Yes, absolutely. And I'll put the dates in here now too.
By the way, Bruce, there was, regarding the healthcare, there was this professor in Hadassah Hospital in Jerusalem who made a big study about the effect of information overload on doctors, like doing ward visits and so on. He found that in a typical visit of the doctors where they go through all the patients each day, they have, I think, on average 80 interruptions. And he was pretty adamant about how bad this was for the operation of the hospital, obviously. Professor Donchin, Donchin. If you're interested, you may be able to dig up a reference from him. Of course, the pilots in airplanes aren't taking the risks, and they have the sterile cockpit law, where nobody's allowed to open the door to the cockpit during takeoff and landing.
Bruce, I'm just curious how you measured information overload. Was that the number of emails opened compared to some reference frame? Just as a side note, I was on the faculty at Wharton from 1973 to 78, so I know the area.
Yeah, that's great. And I grew up in that area, and it was great to get back there again. I found a survey instrument in a prior study where they tried to measure information overload, including communication overload, which was the primary thing that correlated with email. And I took that study and I modified it to focus on email specifically. So it was a Likert-like scale across a number of questions, and people had to rate their level of agreement on a scale of 1 to 7 with that, and that generated a level of overload. Now it was a different population, of course, than the prior scale. The questions were different, so as Claudia was noting, it's difficult from prior organization to current organization to do meaningful comparisons. But the level above the mean of the answers was much higher above the middle now than it was in the survey that took place 20 or so years ago. So it appears, and that's I think the best we can conclude, it appears that the level of overload experienced is higher. And after the survey, I interviewed individuals one-on-one. Not it was a small sample in comparison with the overall. I interviewed 20 participants to try to understand things like how many emails they receive in a day, how many they need to review, how much time they spend, et cetera. And so the majority of people were processing more than 200, and some were processing more than 400. And wow, even at a minute per email, I can't imagine doing a whole lot beyond reading and responding to email with that level of volume.
Mm-hmm. I was also interested, did your survey address opening email beyond the formal working hours?
The survey didn't question that. In the interviews, yes, I did, and most people feel compelled to carry the phone and be checking constantly during off hours to make sure that they're not missing an important email. The anxiety around missing something important was seemed very high for most participants, most leaders.
Thank you. Mm-hmm. Claudia, I'm just wondering how many people have grown your membership beyond the United States recently? Is this really, picked up interest, or is this still in the beginning of the curve?
Claudia, you're in mute.
Thank you for telling me that. Sorry about that. It prior to changing this last year from national to global, we did have people celebrating it all over the globe, but we didn't have, there were just maybe more small individual groups, not large events. So I think we are definitely in the beginning stages of that. We had Ileana for Germany, Ileana Gross-Bunning, and then we had I'd say about probably 6 countries this year that kind of took the bigger role. We have somebody in the UK, we have somebody in Australia. They did a lot with the schools. That was wonderful. And then we had Bali, a representative, Nini. And then there was someone in the Netherlands, Amsterdam, Switzerland. I think there's probably another one that I'm not thinking of, and I feel awful. I should know these all, but about 6 countries. And then we have a couple more that are coming on for this next year, and we'll start reaching out to see if there are others interested for next year.
I don't know what type of demographics you attempt to try and capture. That's always a challenge, but admit it'd be interesting to see what the cross-cultural impact is if you have enough participants from different locations.
Yeah. I would just really love to get more data and get a little more concrete information on participation. I will say that a fair amount of people just like to promote the day, make a big splash about it, and don't really end up coordinating anything physical. They just hope that people are, and then there isn't a follow-up to know. So we don't get any data on the numbers. And we have in the past tried to do, ironically, a QR code. At whatever you're doing, here's a QR code so that people can sign up, so that then we kind of can track. We got a lot of flack for doing that. You're unplugged. Why do you want to have the QR code? Or it's an older generation, or it's an unplugged group. They don't want to do that. They want to have nothing to do with it. They only want a paper, option kind of thing. And we can't work with that ourselves as much. I mean, it's great, but it's made tracking this thing incredibly difficult, which just bothers me. I'm used to a little more clean and tidy programs that I've worked on in the past. This is nothing like that. This has been like, I feel like I'm a spaghetti maker. Let's throw things against the wall and see what sticks and what works. And hopefully you all like the ideas, but it's so tricky when it comes to us being able to really get nice, meaningful numbers on anything. Oh, it frustrates me. But yes, that would be good.
So you have
productivity data. Always the question of how do you measure the improved productivity of an email effectiveness program? And, I always tell them, you attach a productometer to their foreheads, and it tells you the data. I mean, what? But actually, I always say that the way to really assess it is to see if the managers of the employees like the program, like if they want to continue it when you finish your pilot or whatever. Because since managers don't produce anything, they are measured in the output of their people, so they know if it's good or bad for their own advancement, I would say. But the actual numbers are quite difficult. Although one company, I think, once instrumented the computers, so from the inside of the computers, they saw how long each email was waiting before being replied to, and so on. And they had some amazing data, but that was long ago.
This kind of data also is kind of encroaching in the privacy, so it's kind of hard.
Yeah.
But Claudia, I couldn't help seeing the irony in it. We are talking about the overload, and what you are suffering is sort of underload of data.
Oh yeah.
So, so underload of data with the trying to solve overload problem.
Right. There's a lot of irony in what I do, for sure. I mean, the whole thing is I'm suffering from information overload, just
Different way.
yes.
Yeah.
And trying to I spend so much time on my screens trying to encourage people to get off of their screens. Like it's ridiculous. So,
Exactly.
like, ah. So yeah, it's sad. But maybe we try and get more efficient every year, which does in this case a lot of times mean things go by the wayside that I would like to, do more measuring and things like that. But we have to pick and choose until we have enough people that want to come on board and do what Kim and I do. And neither of us takes a salary. So, if I earn income when I do presentations, that goes right back into the nonprofit. We're just at this place of trying to keep it going, which we are, but we aren't at a point of, earning any money. And there aren't a ton of people jumping up saying, hey, I want to do the same thing and get on board and help you out. So we're, we do what we can, and I'd like to get some more meaningful information out of the data that we've got sometime.
Yeah.
So hopefully we will.
Just curious to know, like you may share, may not share, up to you. How big is your sponsorship base?
How what?
Sponsorship, like you have some sponsor
Yes.
for this program. How big that base is? Like a 10, 15, 50, 100?
Oh, I see what you're saying. Like we had BioTrue. There we go. I'll give them a shout out because they're our sponsors this year.
Okay.
And it was very challenging to work with them actually, but because they had so many different groups to get approval on. But so we have sponsorships starting at like 1,500 and going up from there. We haven't done any huge sponsorship, and ironically, we also don't spend much time going after the sponsors.
Correct.
We could, if we spent any more time, we would get more sponsors. I know people are interested, and we end up getting caught up in programming and just trying to get new people on board, and we've spent our efforts elsewhere. But we do need to work on getting sponsorship because people do love the program. And it's nice. You can get your, logo on the back of here and that kind of thing. Information can go in little bags. So I can send out information about that around too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, actually, it may seem strange to you, but it is getting to be my dinner time. So let's have a last round of whatever you want to say, and let's bring this bonfire to a close. It was good having you all here. Any comments from anyone?
Very, very nice meeting everybody. I'm going to my next Zoom right now, but wonderful meeting you. I will follow up with the numbers and sponsorship info.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Thank you all.
By the way, Bruce, if you want to write a post for the IORG blog about your research there, by all means, shoot it over to me and we can make it happen. And up to you. But we'd love to bring in perspectives from people in other domains, and you're definitely in a somewhat different domain of information overload.
I think we ought to
Sure, that'd
connect
be great.
Bruce with, oh, I'm sorry, Bruce. I think we ought to connect you with Mike Eisenstein, who he's our tech person, but he runs a email consulting and website, and that would probably be useful. If Nathan has your email, maybe Nathan, you could send Mike's address to Bruce.
Oh, I don't have Bruce's email actually. So, but Mike is on emailoverloadsolutions.com, right?
I'm not sure if that's the full formal name.
Let me check it. Oh, there we have Bruce. Okay, I can send you Mike's email if you want to discuss with him. He used to work in the pharma industry, actually. So there's a little connection there.
Great. Thank you.
What shall I tell him you want to do with him? I mean, I will do an introduction.
Well, just let them know that I've just completed a doctoral dissertation on email overload, and I would certainly love to get any feedback from him on that in what he's seen in that area.
Okay, so I will do an introduction.
Great.
That's Michael Einstein. Okay, note made of it. I will do so later today. Excellent. Okay, so here we are from different countries around the world. This is actually nice if you think about it. And we have discussed information overload, and we shall do so again. And everybody is welcome to join our next bonfire, which will probably be in 3 months or so. We try to do them quarterly. Also, the video of this meeting will appear on the IORG website, so others can benefit. And thank you, Bruce, for sharing your presentation there.
Great. Thanks, Bruce.
Thank you for
Thanks,
listening.
everybody.
Okay. Bye, everybody.
Thanks.
Bye.
Have a good evening, a good
Bye.
day. Right.